Data regulations are extremely important. Just more broadly, regulations are very important. They set the rules of the road for the different players in the space. In our space of data regulation, there's to set the rules for the fundamental protection of privacy rights. And so, the different actors in this space, governments, regulators, companies, even citizens, know the rules of the game, and we can act accordingly. Already from many years ago, we knew that rules develop at a slower pace than technology does. I mean, just a few years ago, we were talking about big data or Internet of Things, and then it was AI, now it's generative AI. Tomorrow it's going to be quantum or neural technologies. So technology is advancing at an increasingly fast pace. AI is just the fuel of it. So the challenge is to apply our commonly held principles to this evolving technology, right? Current laws do continue to apply. In Europe with the GDPR, in Canada with PIPEDA, the laws still continue to apply, but technology is going fast. So it's now about not just keeping pace with them, but ensuring that our laws are fit for purpose and that they also evolve so that they can meet these incredible challenges that are arising with these technologies. Data and personal information have fueled innovation. So now I think it's really time about us having to innovate to protect our personal information. So it's an important part of meeting the challenge. There's for years we've talked about the principles around designing for privacy, creating a culture of privacy, not just socially but also within companies, so that data protection and that protection of the fundamental right to privacy starts at the moment of inception of a technology and its development, not as a back end, not as a regulatory exercise at the end. We've put a lot of emphasis at the OPC in Canada on the idea of advising companies, working with companies from the get-go, so that our interactions with them do not just come at the moment of a compliance action or a complaint, but rather we've been building that trust with them, that relationship with them since before. So that to me is one of the important challenges for us, is to maintain those relationships with the actors in the space and building that trust so that we can together protect privacy. It's vitally important. On the one hand, you have the fact that a lot of the companies are global companies, and we understand that for them it's a challenge to you have all these different rules, these different laws, and that sometimes can be at tension with each other across the world. And so international collaboration is vital for us as regulators, so that we understand the playing field, understand the problems that the regulated are facing, that we understand the expectations of citizens all over the world, so that we can then, amongst ourselves, collaborate and be more effective as a community when advising companies, when protecting our citizens. So it's what makes us far more impactful. I mean, I can talk to you about an example of such cooperation. As an international community of regulators, we're often looking for ways that we can better understand each other and better cooperate, better have effect for our citizens. And so for years, the OPC has been part of an international enforcement working group. And in those working groups, we have very frequently what we call closed collaboration sessions. And so these are just phone calls as between partners, where we get to know each other, we get to build a bit of trust and share some of our experiences. We share a lot of our best practices, and also some of our concerns. And coming out of that, we a few years ago started looking at the question of data scraping and what impact that was having on people, the fact that they were more frequent, that it involved larger and larger databases of information, and how it's been done. So we got together as a group of regulators. We drafted a joint statement on data scraping just last year, published it, and used it as a tool to engage with companies, to get to know a little bit more about that ecosystem, and effectively tell them what our expectations were, but also hear from them, okay, well, what are the data scraping instances that are for good, right? Not all data scraping is unlawful or evil, so to speak, or for evil. There is really some beneficial purposes to it. And so that engagement has been very, very effective, and I think is a feather on the cap of that international collaboration, because we've been able to engage. We haven't had to go all the way into a formal enforcement action or some sort of investigation or audit, but coming out of it with very positive results. And we look forward to publishing a subsequent statement that builds on the previous one, but also builds on this experience of engaging with the different companies, global companies, that have been very engaged and very enthusiastic in that collaboration with us. So, and then I wanted to go back to that idea of bridges. I think it's so neat that we're here in Venice. I keep coming back to that, and to the notion that in the international space, our laws may not always align entirely, or have exactly the same wording or anything like that. But I keep hearing that phrase of all roads lead to Rome. Right? We're not in Rome, we're in Venice. Hopefully the roads also lead here, but it's that notion that we are going to the same place, and we might take different paths, and the road might look different. Some might be more windy, some might be more hilly, but we all want to get to the same space, which is the promotion and protection of the fundamental right to privacy. And so as an international community, it's really important for us to be walking those roads to get to that point where we can all fulfill our mandates in the best way possible for our citizens. They're incredibly important for a number of reasons. In preparing for this, I looked up the meaning of symposium. It's a meeting point for a discussion, for presentations, and that's, I think, what makes the Venice Symposium a must-do now in the kind of international privacy calendar, because it brings together so many different voices. It brings together different players in the field, and we are able to and it's appropriately so in Venice, build bridges amongst ourselves, have that conversation, build that trust that I was talking about before, that helps, at least for us as regulators, ultimately meet our mandate of promoting and protecting the fundamental right to privacy. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, Commissioner Philippe Dufresne, has set out our strategic priorities for the next 3 years, just earlier this year. And so we've set out 3 main strategic privacy priorities. The first is maximizing the impact of the OPC by reviewing our processes, by investing in our people, by continuing to do the kind of collaboration and listening that we've been doing for so long, with a view towards the future, of course. The second priority would be to address and advocate for privacy rights in this time of technological change. And the third one is applying a children's right, and looking at things through that advocacy for children's right. We see with a lot of concern the impact that modern media is having on children, so we think that that's an important area to work on. And then throughout all those 3 priorities, there are what we call some cross-cutting principles, and amongst them, and I think personally one of the most important ones, is harnessing our partnerships, working with with other regulators, working with the different partners and stakeholders in the field. And so we've put a lot of priority into maximizing the impact of the networks that we have as regulators, but also looking ahead and what is needed to confront some of what we consider to be the biggest challenges of our time. And that's, say you were asking earlier about artificial intelligence. Well, to regulate artificial intelligence, you need a privacy lens, but you need a number of other lenses as well. So harnessing the relationships and the collaboration with other regulatory fields and building those relationships so that together we can best, regulate increasingly complex questions and matters in the space of technology. There's many. The first one is being an appreciation for being part of this symposium. I think for us in Canada, we always see ourselves as a bridge, right? And being in a city of bridges like this, I think is extremely appropriate. And bringing that perspective to this symposium, to this gathering, is to us very important. It's also very profitable, as in we get to profit from so many experts and from many different points of views, and that helps us in turn better meet that vision for ourselves of being a bridge across, not just across the Atlantic as between what's going on between the US and Europe broadly, but also as an Asia-Pacific nation. And even beyond that, we're a country that has both a civil law and a common law tradition. So we being a bridge as between legal cultures, being a bridge as between languages. We form part of networks that are Anglophone and Francophone. So, for us, it's again an honor to be here, but also to learn, but also to see where we can contribute and continue to build up that role of being a bridge, of being a facilitator for everyone's role and for everybody's goal, which is ultimately that protection and promotion of privacy rights.